3 today will be filled with difficulty due to Shark Island on the left there. The final upwind leg means the boats have to zigzag their way up the course, trying to find the fastest path. The tactical battle around Shark Island's great for the fans to be seated out there, but a real headache for the tacticians. A short upwind sprint is the last chance for those boats behind to find a passing lane before the sprint to the finish, right in front of the fans and those all-important points. Great wind on the lake, on the harbour today, sailing's theatre of dreams.
Hey Ben, it's Freddie here. We're obviously back at the venue where you got your first Olympic gold medal those years ago and where you dominated Sail GP last year. But what do you reckon the recipe for success will be today?
Hey Freddie, it's interesting. It's slightly different wind direction than what we're used to. It's not a sort of full-on northeaster, so the breeze is slightly further right, and I think it's going to make it a very different race course and something maybe some of us non-locals aren't as used to, so I think that's going to play into it, and of course the starts and this medium sort of breeze getting off the start line in good shape is going to be pretty key.
So now it's time to go racing. This will be race number 1 of 3. Remember, 3 races today, then 3 races tomorrow. Freddie and Stevie, this is so key. You talk about the position of Shark Island. This course is very unique. You guys have both been here before. You sailed here before. Very tricky conditions with the wind as we now go under 2 minutes for the start.
Yeah, with this wind direction, Todd, the breeze is blowing over Shark Island, and as we look upwind from the bottom of the course, for me that rules out the whole right-hand side of the course looking upwind. It effectively halves the boundaries. All the boats are going to be getting to the leeward gate and looking to get to the left-hand side and doing lots of tacks. Today, the boats that do well will be the boats that have really good tacking manoeuvres on their foils.
Well, I think you can see in this pre-start as well, they're downwind of a big headland. It's called Steel Point, and getting the boat to jump up on the foils is going to be really, really hard. That helicopter shot we had showed a very short run to Mark 1, which could suggest that the end of the start line nearer the fans on Shark Island, there's an incredible spectator fleet and people out on the water. They could get a good view with people pushing this start.
Trying to go here.
And so with less than a minute to go to race number 1 here of the Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, presented by KPMG. Let's check in quickly with Lisa Darmanin. And Lisa, do we have all 8 boats? Is everyone out there?
5 to kill, 4 to kill. If you're late there, must we get some pub?
Racing is underway here in Sydney Harbour, and it's the perfect day. They're all being able to reach across the racecourse and hit that turning mark. It's a great day to watch sailing.
All right, so we're under 25 seconds to go now, guys. Stevie, Freddie, this is a critical point. You know it. We've got the full fleet out there at race number 1, Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, presented by KPMG, as we now go to 10 seconds to go to the start.
Here we go, and it's Ben Ainsley on the British boat, diving through in the middle of the line. Looks like he could be early here with 3 seconds to go to the start. Look for the line to go white. Is it clear? It's clear. Phil Robertson on the Spanish boat. Brilliant start. Ben Ainsley out of the middle of the line, off the blocks, charging towards Mark 1. Fantastic job on their time and distance there. It's now a sprint. Can Phil Robertson and the Spanish team hold on?
So Phil Robertson on the inside line. Just to his right is Ben Ainsley out on with Great Britain Sail GP. Here we go to mark number 1, race number 1.
Nice job on the inside there by Phil Robertson on the Spanish team. They lead round the mark. Second place for Great Britain is Contant de Pierre in 4th, just behind Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew. This first manoeuvre, look at the British crew, leads the jibe away. Tactical, strong manoeuvre there as the crews jibe right in front of this spectator fleet on Sydney Harbour, and they'll be searching for breeze. Early jibe away by Berlin, but it's Ainsley and the British crew made that decision, and it's boat speed now.
So it's Spain with the early lead, then Great Britain, Australia, and then France. We will try and let you listen as much as possible, but this will be huge, guys, for Spain, currently sitting in 6th place with 35 points.
This is where they'll already be discussing the tactics for the upwind. I expect most boats to be looking to go right turn at the bottom, so one more jibe to catapult them onto the left side of the upwind, where we know there is better breeze.
That's right, and in control at the moment it's Phil Robertson and his Spanish crew. We'll watch them jibing here. Listen on board to the Spanish boat through this manoeuvre.
Keep an eye on the speeds above the wings here. You're trying to keep those speeds as high as possible as both boats just creep under 50 kilometers an hour. A lovely job by both boats.
Going to be tight as we come into gate 2. Phil Robertson leading. Perfect ley line front Tom Slingsby, but it's not quite enough to dive ahead of Ben Ainsley at this point. First place for the Spanish crew, second for Ainsley on the British boat. Slingsby straight into attack out of the mark. Aggressive manoeuvre by the Australians, but they perfectly pulled that off. Stayed on the foils, and they're splitting away, looking for fresh breeze on this upwind leg.
So Slingsby does get a little bit of traffic as he heads to that side of the course with those in the back. And guys, speaking of those in the back, as we get a good look at Great Britain with a problem on that maneuver, you got to look at the USA and Japan out the back in 7th and 8th respectively.
Yeah, it's a poor jibe by the British crew there, Todd, as we see the ladder lines showing us the way up the course. The boats are heading from right to left up the course. Spanish crew of Phil Robertson has stretched away there, but he's feeling he's got to push. He's not fast enough there. We heard Phil Robertson push, push, push.
Don't have too far to go this way. Big ready now.
That's the voice of Florian Trittel on the Spanish boat. They're talking about the wind shift, a righty. It means the wind has turned them away from the mark, turn them to the right, and they'll be looking to use that to try and shorten the distance, as those ladder lines show they're some 50 metres ahead at the moment and going well up the course.
Well, it's early in the race. As we mentioned, the USA and Japan in the back. It's early in this race, race number 1 of 3, but this would be a monumental move for Spain. Their best performance so far, guys, was in Italy at event number 2 when they finished in 2nd.
That's very interesting manoeuvre there by Ainsley and the British. Yes, they want to get to the left-hand side of the course, but it's early on in SailGP Sydney, but they slammed attack in the face of the Australians. Is that a sign of the bigger picture overall season?
That's a classic match race manoeuvre by Ainsley. Look at him, he sat right on the wind of the Australian crew. Blocking the wind means you're going to slow them down, and we can see that in the speed on the top of the mast, travelling at some 3 kilometres an hour quicker than the Australians.
And as we said, coming out of the start gate, it really does look like you don't want to be going anywhere near the right-hand side of the course, and Shark Island is all the action on the left-hand side.
Final manoeuvres into the mark here as we see the British crew setting up for attack. Phil Robertson and his Spanish crew quietly going about their business. That yellow line you can see there, let's remind ourselves, that's the ley line as the Spanish ditch the bow into the water. The ley line means you can make it to that next gate with no more manoeuvres should everything stay in place. Some 130 metres ahead up here. They're talking of a nice gain on the Spanish boat. I guess... Oh, there's no need for me to guess. Just listen to Phil Robertson there. He's thinking of a left turn at the top. No. Oh, he can't make his mind up.
This is the umpire's penalty, Japan, relative to the USA.
The crews are
Well,
trying
Phil
to
Robertson's
find...
going to get pressure, isn't he? I mean, look at the rest of the fleet. Look at the Kiwis have made a big play, guys, into 4th now, and they're starting to put pressure on Australia and Great Britain, who are all chasing Phil Robertson now as they go through this next gate onto leg 4.
It's tight here. Look at that. Starboard advantage is with Australia. Ainsley now on the inside. He will gain the rights. All these other boats must keep clear. A lot of action coming in here. Could get busy for Craig Mitchell, but no. Ben Ainsley sneaks around the mark. Brilliant manoeuvring there. And it's Slingsby on the Australian boat that stays on the foil. He'll be the fastest as he's up and foiling, but on the inside it's Ben Ainsley. Tactically great manoeuvre there. The bar of soap in the middle there was Peter Burling, and he's been spat out the back on the Kiwi boat as Slingsby and Ainsley renew their battle on this downwind leg after gate 3.
And after some great match racing here, this is amazing. Sorry about that, Freddie. As these three have their own little private battle through that last gate, Phil Robertson now is putting distance on the rest of the field.
That was really interesting there, Todd. Out of that second gate, it was a race to get back on the foil, and the British were the slowest as they got to that gate, but they did a very, very nice job of accelerating and also stepping down the ladder, the white lines that we were seeing on the race course.
On board with the British crew here as they come out of that jibe. I think Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew are doing a great job. They're always on the back foot, but they're keeping it tight, sailing the boat really, really fast. And as we see the Spanish there on the right-hand side of the screen, jibing, one more jibe on this downwind leg, but they're stretching out, they're sailing. Look at that, look at the percentage of race fly time in the bottom corner there. Spain staying on the foils 98% of the time, and what a shot that is. Sydney Harbour, the F-50s charging down here, and this, what a battle between these two great champion teams.
Well, it has been a long layoff since the last event number 6. It was the Cadiz Sail Grand Prix, and it was Australia that won that, and the Aussies looking very good right now in a good battle with Great Britain, New Zealand, but it is Spain that'll make the first turn as they get through gate 4.
Well, it's a real sight as to how if you can be on your own and sailing free, you can just sail fast. We can see the British boat and the Australian team, they're slowing each other down in this spectacular fight that's going on as they turn upwind. It's surprising to see the Spanish go all the way to that right-hand side. There's been a bit of a problem for wind there. Once again, straight into the tack, the JK manoeuvre by Slingsby and his Australian manoeuvre to do. Another upwind leg here to go. We're at the halfway point in the race right now, and the Spanish have a good lead, but we can see on those ladder lines, it's closing up. The British have made a small gain, and don't imagine Slingsby's gone anywhere. He's going to be right in this as they head up this upwind leg.
Well, I've got a little theory this weekend, Stevie, that because of the overall season battles that are going on fundamentally between Great Britain, Australia, Japan and the USA, that will allow boats like the Spanish and the Kiwi boat just to sail a little bit free, maybe get in a bit of open water, and I think boats like that could really blow the overall seasons apart as they get a good result here in Sydney.
Right now it is Phil Robertson out in front, coming up on 200-meter lead over Great Britain. Remember, this came from the very start, guys, when he got the lead at mark number 1, and he's sailed a pretty flawless race here. Now, he's got a lot of pressure behind him. And let's also take a look down the leaderboard. The USA and Japan currently tied in 2nd overall. They hold down 6th and 7th. A lot of work to do.
200 meters ahead on the Spanish boat there. As we see in the background, Australia and Tom Slingsby. Well, he pulled an aggressive maneuver at the turning gate at the bottom, but he now has the advantage. Look at this ride height in the top left-hand side of the picture there. They're flying the boat higher on the Australian boat. Jason Waterhouse, the flight controller, doing a great job. But look, these two boats, they're on a piece of elastic, looking for boundary tacks to come up, and it's who's going to execute it best.
Well, look at these two boats. They are stuck together like they're on a piece of bungee. Their stats are pretty much identical. Both boats, both crews are being sailed at 100%. We're going to be seeing this all weekend.
Fellas, would it surprise you at all if this was the same thing that plays out in the final race tomorrow between these three, Spain, Australia, and Great Britain?
Not at all now. Look, Ainsley tacks. He has the advantage. Tom Slingsby has to respond to him. Tacks away perfectly again. That's two pretty much perfect tacks on those boats. You'd need the absolute data to spot any mistakes in there. But look, the heel angle on the British. The boat leaning towards them straight out of the tack, and they're 3 kilometers an hour faster. But Slingsby sailing the boat closer to the wind. Pushing on Ben Ainsley here and his British crew. It's going to come down to one more tack in at the top. It's still tight. That's the voice of Ben Ainsley, 1 and in, expecting a left turn again from the British. As Phil Robertson, he's running along that yellow line. He's in good shape on the Spanish boat.
This is outrageous watching Great Britain and Australia. It's like watching the Red Arrows. It's like a synchronised flying team. They are both absolutely on the rivet.
Advantage here with Tom Slingsby. He's done a great job. He's talking about a Chicago, which I think is going to be a bear away early jibe here for the Australian crew. Ainsley tacks away, pushed away by Slingsby. Brilliant work from the Australian crew up there. Can they pull off a quick jibe at the top here?
And calm amid the chaos, and we have got ourselves a cracker here on race number 1, day 1. Spain has the lead, and Australia and Great Britain are changing positions as we know go on to leg 6.
Sorry to interrupt there, but in the background, the Australians had fallen off the foils in that jibe. They got stuck under steel point and not much wind. We see in the background there's the Australians. Bit of a loss going to have taken place here. The ladder lines show that the left turn at the top was advantage Great Britain. Phil Robertson has lost some distance. Ainsley's in a dark patch of water, more wind, and look at that. In the blink of an eye, it's a 200-metre change of distance. One mistake. That Chicago just did not work for Australia. As Ainsley jibes. Match race jibe from Phil Robertson. It's all action on this downwind leg. Who can stay on the foils? Who can keep it fastest? It's tight at the top.
And the jibe data there, the Australians' slowest moment in the jibe was 30 kilometres an hour, and the British team was 50, and that is why we've seen the massive step out.
Spain looking for their first victory. They would love to get something big here in Sydney over this next 2 days, and right now this is step number 1. An absolute great race as Spain comes down, and they are making their way down. We're being told now they're finishing at the next mark, as Australia now has issues with Denmark, who have moved ahead of them.
The umpires, penalty Denmark relative Australia, penalty Denmark relative to Australia, winded boat knock.
And a penalty to Denmark.
All right. Rounding up in 10.
There we go, get ready for the roundup from the Spanish here. Looks like Phil Robertson's giving a bit of room for Ben Ainsley and the British crew here. British crew dive inside. Oh, it's tight round there. Lead change, though. Ben Ainsley and his British crew take the lead. Tom Slingsby, look how much he's lost there. That was a close finish with the British to take the race. Victory there. Spain, second place. And it's Tom Slingsby coming across the line in third. Wow, it's going to be tight with Denmark. Can Sehested dive for the line? It was like a lunging 100-metre sprint for Sehested. I think he will have got through for fourth, just ahead of Peter Burling.
What a change of events as Great Britain looked to be settling for second place. Spain looked to have control of this race, and then when the shortened announcement came, it was Spain looking to react a little bit late as the USA comes in 6th.
SailGP uses award-winning Liveline graphics to display the racecourse on your screens. Using augmented reality technology, the boundary lines, turning gates, start-finish lines, and ladder graphics are overlaid onto the racecourse. The fastest way for the F-50s to navigate the course is to sail at an angle of 45 degrees to maximize the power they gain from the wind. And to illustrate who is ahead, the ladder graphics are overlaid on the racecourse. The ladder lines are spaced 100 meters apart, allowing us to easily see who is ahead no matter which direction a boat is traveling in. In this example, the Japan team on the right is in the lead, followed by the New Zealand team and then the Danish team in the middle. On the left-hand side, you can see the Great Britain team have some work to do to catch up with the USA team following behind. Here you can see that the New Zealand team are leading the Great Britain team even though they are sailing in different directions, as the New Zealand team have made more progress up the ladder.
So set to go now with race number 2. Remember, we have 3 races today, 3 races tomorrow. A little bit of housekeeping. On closer review, it is Spain that gets the win in race number 1. Great Britain finishing in 2nd and Australia finishing in 3rd. So that changes things as Phil Robertson's got to feel pretty good about things heading into race number 2, which is coming up in just about 90 seconds. So under 90 seconds to go, fellas, what did you learn from race number 1, and what do you think they should apply to how they race this second one?
What I saw from race number 1 and rolling into race number 2 is how big this start box is. That's the hard deck that all the boats are circling now to get themselves ready to launch onto the race course. It is a big area to play with, much bigger than somewhere like Saint-Tropez. The other thing on this hard deck, this place where they're lining up for the pre-start, it is very gusty, so it's very easy to get left behind on the train to the line. I think you want to stay quite close to the line, reduce your risk of getting caught in a lull, which is an area of no wind, and get yourself in a good spot to kind of launch onto the racecourse. Maybe take distance to the line over speed at the gun.
We're on board with the USA there. We see Shark Island, all the fans in the background, and that end of the start line has been favoured there. That blue triangle there suggests the favoured end. The fleet are earlier back. Slingsby, an aggressive move down the line here. But is he a bit early? He slams the boat up into the wind to try and kill some speed. And it's Phil Robertson on the Spanish boat and the New Zealand team at the bottom end of the line. How's their timing going to be as they're trying to come in here, control the speed? It's going to be Australia in the middle of the line. Great Britain looking for the pole position spot out of the top of the line there. Here comes USA and Jimmy Spithill. Watch for the line to go right. Over early. Jake, Australia, America.
Penalty USA over the start line.
Off by a half a second. The USA went aggressive. They needed a result, and they get an early penalty.
Well, and it's Japan at the bottom end of the line there. The Japanese, they timed it perfectly.
Penalty Spain relative Japan. Penalty Spain relative Japan.
He needed a big start, and he's got it on the Japanese boat. Spain have got to drop back 2 boat lengths relative to Nathan Outridge, and he's going to take a while to scrub that penalty off here relative to them. Great Britain and Ben Ainsley round in 3rd place, and it's Delapierre again doing a good job 4th at the mark as we set up for the first jibe on board Japan. It's the voice of Chris Draper steering after the jibe. Good angle.
Very nice job by new flight controller Leo Takahashi. I think if you looked at all of the crewmen and women across the fleet this week, that guy has got the most pressure on him, stepping in to fill in for Francesco Bruni, and they need to do a really good job with their foiling manoeuvres to stay ahead in this race.
Boy, the Aussies and the Americans could not have had a worse start. It looked like Jimmy Spithill and Team USA were going to bounce back nicely, but just about a half a second too early.
They were just a bit early. That's the voice of Nathan Outridge on the Japanese boat there. They were talking of a 1 and in right turn, so we can expect one more jibe at the bottom of the course here. 50-metre lead already for the British crew. They're setting up for a jibe. We expect Ben Ainsley and the British crew to follow. Here they go. G-force on the crew there as they jibe. A little bit later jibing on the Japanese crew there of Outridge, who's got the ley line right. If Ainsley can dive inside, he'll have an opportunity at the bottom of the course here, but Japan should be coming in faster. Probable lead for Nathan Outridge around gate number 2, but Ainsley just trying to dive inside here. I think Outridge is far enough ahead on the Japanese boat. He sure is. He turns up. And 3rd place again, Phil Robertson. Is he your spoiler, Freddie Carr?
He could well be. He could well be. Do not forget that Phil Robertson was leading this overall series after 2 regattas. Has then had a bit of a shocker, but he's going to feature, no doubt.
Oh, Ben Ainsley on the British crew. Look at that. He's tried to pull off the JK tack. He's run right into the congestion. He's fallen off the foils, and they're going to be slow. This is a big, big loss of distance coming for the British crew here. Still not foiling. Still not foiling. That was a rushed manoeuvre by the British, and they're going to pay a big penalty for it.
So at gate number 2, things should shake up just a little bit. The USA still sits in 5th place, now dropping to 6th. It's Japan, Spain, and Great Britain who have their problems, and they now drop back to 4th.
Go fast into the next shift. Pressing a little bit then, buddy.
That's the voice of Chris Draper there, listening to Nathan Outridge, pressing into the next shift. He talks about the wind is changing direction all the time. Try and find a gust for more wind or sail a shorter distance by getting a better wind shift. We can see Outridge, big lead this early on in the race, but it's Phil Robertson, the big mover here, as Ainsley. He's been sucked back into the pack after that, and we look at the ride height. Well, New Zealand flying the boat highest, and look, they are fastest on the screen at the moment. Higher out of the water, less drag, and it's the New Zealand team making a move early on this first upwind leg.
Boy, Pete Burley and company can certainly use a tremendous result here and try to get themselves into the final tomorrow. Remember, it's 5 races for the entire fleet. The 6th race, only the top 3.
It's a great overhead view of Sydney Harbour here as we see the speed on the boats there.
This is the umpire's penalty USA relative France. Penalty USA, relative France.
Costly mistake there.
Penalty to the USA.
Big costly mistake. He's on port tack, didn't have the right of way.
GBR, relative France. Port tack boat not keeping clear.
So if you're on starboard tack, you have the right of way, and Britain and America were both on port tack. They'll have to drop back 20 metres relative to France here on this upwind leg. And it's Outeridge, though, looking at those ladder lines. He's some 50 metres ahead of Phil Robertson, but the Spanish boat is fast. They are not slipping back here. Penalty still needs to be lost from Great Britain at this moment in time. And USA, they're struggling to burn it as we see the Japanese approaching the boundary. They'll be looking for one more tack here and hope to make the top gate. There's the ley line, the yellow line suggests they're going to make it to gate number 3 here. Are they ahead of Spain? Wow, it's tight. Phil Robertson is going so fast on this upwind leg. Florian Trittel, the wing trimmer, and Diego Botin on the flight controller. They've got this Spanish boat dialed in today. They're the fastest boat on the race course at the moment. The speed they're moving around the course is impressive.
There we go.
So Spain looking to back up that first place finish in race number 1 with a second here. They're trying to reel in Japan, who sits in first place. Great Britain and the USA right now in their top 4. New Zealand's dropped back, then it's France, Denmark, and the Australians with a terrible showing here in race number 2 on home waters.
And look at the race fly time there by Leo Takahashi, 100% as the pressure comes on. He is responding with really nice flight control.
Gate 3 here, crucial moment in the course. Early tack here from Spain, and Outeridge will need to respond with an early jibe. It's a bit of a risky mover for the Japanese here. This was where there was a big change in distance as the Spanish tack away, looking for more wind. More wind with 1 lap to go. It's a great opportunity for the Spanish here, but it's Outeridge, well, the wind whisperer himself. Looks like this time he's found some breeze, and as the pack, look at that pack, it's going to be so tight at the top here. Who's going to sneak round gate number 3 in 3rd place? Anyone's at the moment. Ainsley tacks. He's dropped back a lot, but Spithill, he dives inside. Burling must respond by keeping clear. It's so tight as they come into the mark here. Burling's got a tricky position, but he dives ahead of the Australians as 3rd place for USA. The French, Delapierre, dives inside. Wow, just inside Sehested. And in last place, it's Tom Slingsby, the hometown hero. He's got some work to do on this downwind leg.
Well, that's a tricky
France
spot
comes
for
into
New
that
Zealand
hot,
to jibe
sorry,
in. Really tricky spot for New Zealand to jibe in there. They were out by themselves on that side of the course, and there's a potential for 3 boats to roll over the top of them.
On board with Australia there. That's the voice of Kyle Langford there, talking to Tom Slingsby there in the back of the pack. Hard to find much room and much opportunity to use their famous boat speed here as we see Outeridge. Well, there's plenty of boat speed on that Japanese boat, some 200 metres, 250 metres even ahead here as they set up, trying to keep it simple. Oh, little bit of a mistake on the board up there. This windward hull touched the water, but it was pretty good from the Japanese crew as they come down to this turning mark again. They're going to move around this gate. They can turn right or left, but it looks like a right turn at gate 4 for Japan, and they've made a nice gain on the Spanish down here.
New grinder, Luke Payne on the front there. Payno, as he's known to his mates. Not only has he brought a little bit more power to the front handles of the Japanese, and we've been talking about their potential lack of power all season, he adds a bit more body weight. When you have more body weight on the side, it adds more righting moment, that gives you more speed. So some pretty interesting changes on the Japanese right now is paying dividends.
Japan has the lead here in race number 2. This is like 5 of 6, so it's down, make the turn, and then it's a shot into the finish line. It looks like Japan's going to get this win. Spain in second. The USA guys have done a masterful job. Jimmy Spithill is already up to 3rd place after a 6th place finish in race number 1.
Yeah, big moments in the race here, 3rd through to 8th. This is the dogfight. This is the race that could really set your weekend up. Big moments for the hometown team, Australia, as they're trying to pick through from last place.
Going to be very tight here. It's third place for the USA. Ben Ainsley managed to find some space and get here. Look at that. The Kiwi crew, New Zealand, have to go slow, trying to get into the yellow zone, but they can't quite make it. That's going to be a big loss for New Zealand. They'll fall off the foils. They will drop to 8th. Sehested turns round 5th. Contant Delap takes the left turn here. Here he goes, turning round the mark, and it's Australia up to 7th. But the New Zealand crew of Burling, that was a bad jibe, and it's cost him dearly. This last upwind leg of the course here, the crew's trying to find space, trying to find wind. And, well, it's not easy when you're back in that pack. Spithill really did a masterful job. We come back
meanwhile, towards the front, Japan out there. Japan has the lead. Sorry, Stevie. Japan has the lead. Spain in second. USA in third. There you see the distance to the leader on leg 5 of 6, race 2.
Huge gaps out there, Todd, at the moment. With great conversation with Outeridge and Draper here. On board the Japanese crew. They're sailing the boat upwind. They've got space. They've got time, and that's Chris Draper saying nice mode there, Freddie. That means he feels like he's got the boat progressing up the course as fast as possible. Close angle to the wind, but a fast boat speed.
Perfect moment to point you towards sailgpinsights.com. That is where I'm getting a lot of my data. Go to sailgpinsights.com and get all the live readings off the boat. The real interesting thing for me on there right now is wind speed. You can read the wind speed of all 8 boats and see who's in the best pressure on the race course.
Right now, best of everything seems to be Nathan Outeridge and Japan Sail GP. They'll make this turn, and then it's a shot towards the finish line. What a great race. Remember, Japan finished in 7th place on race number 1, and this will be a nice bounce back for them.
What a way to deal with the pressure, Todd, really. I mean, we've had a lot of expectation on this Japanese team, and what a way to come back after a tricky first race. It's a bit of a showboat into the crowd here off Shark Island. Hometown. Don't forget Australia. Sailor Nathan Outeridge is going to want to do well. He might be on a Japanese team, but there's Jimmy Spithill, Nathan Outeridge and Tom Slingsby all would say Sydney's their home.
So race number 2 at the Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney goes the way of the Japanese as they get the win. A nice bounce back from race number 1. The consistency award so far here in Australia has to go to Spain. A first and a second in the first 2 races.
Just coming up through the gap into the other side.
That's right, as we come in here at turning mark 5 into the finish, we're back on board with the Spanish. It was going to be tight at the top with Britain and USA as we watch here. Right of way is with Great Britain. Spithill dives behind him, but can he make the mark? He's dived inside, looks to head up. Now he's first inside the circle, so Spithill owns the mark. It was a great manoeuvre from Jimmy Spithill to avoid collision with Great Britain and then dive inside. Cemented 3rd place as we see back in the pack. Still sitting, I think, in 7th place at the moment will be Tom Slingsby. It's tight here for, oh my word, Spitthill's got to keep clear of the boat with the right of way there, Peter Burling, but it looks like Australia and New Zealand could be finishing in 7th as 8th as Ainsley makes one last charge towards the finish line on Jimmy Spithill.
Spithill keeping an eye on Ben Ainsley just off his back, and it is the USA that will get the 3rd place position. Those huge points for the Americans because they finished in 6th in race number 1. Now the drag race is on. Denmark, France, and look at this. The Australians and the Kiwis bringing up 7th and 8th.
Shows what a tricky race course we've got here. If you don't get off that start line and you find yourself in the pack, it certainly is a really hard race. Tom Slingsby was nearly back in that race. One small manoeuvre and there you are, 7th place. Burling fell off the foils at that final bottom gate and it was so costly. Mistakes in this quality of fleet really do matter.
That's interesting. That was the voice of Tom Slingsby saying we've got stuck foot buttons. They use their foot buttons to drive the dagger boards, drive various aspects of the boat. We know that Tom Slingsby had a lot of bad luck in Saint-Tropez with gremlins in his systems, and he finished last. And that is not a nice thing to have going on your boat. They've called for the pit crew to come on board and resolve it, and I'm sure Lisa will keep us updated.
Well, here we go, and of course the start here was crucial. We see that blue pole position there Early back was Tom Slingsby trying to control the fleet, but the trouble with being early is that you've got to sail slowly to burn that time, and it was Japan out the back of the fleet that had more options of where they could run. New Zealand controlling the bottom of the line, but it was Outridge with a long run up, looking to bend his run in, keep the speed up here. We see already foiling is Japan, but it's Australia having to sail slowly in the middle of the line. Now, can Outridge and the Japanese crew find a gap? It's close, it's really close, but as he dives in here, Jimmy Spittle's over the line early. As we stop the gun, we can see perfect timing by Phil Robertson, but it was Outridge coming through fastest who led at Mark 1.
So let's take word. Remember, 3 races today, 2 complete, and it is Spain by consistently being at the top with a first and a second. They lead 15. Great Britain sitting in good place, so in second with 12 points. Japan, by virtue of that win in race number 2, they sit in third on 10 points. And then Jimmy Spithill is tied with Denmark, Australia, New Zealand, and France with one all-important race still to go here in this beautiful Sydney Harbor.
And really blows the overall season wide apart.
I think it really suits the style of Phil Robertson, though. The start is quite crucial there. You heard him already. Fighting for the pin is the language from Phil Robertson there. So he is being aggressive. Outridge was aggressive in that last one as well. He swings the boat around. He had a great start. And Leo Takahashi, we can see just getting out of the cockpit there. Well, he's starting to fill those big boots that Bruni isn't able to take on at this event.
Yeah, he did a very, very good job there. Pressure on in race number 2. And if you fall off the foil, you're going to lose places. Keep an eye on the Japanese starting style. They are late chargers, and we've seen that throughout the season. If they get it right, they hit the line at speed and they go on to win the race. If they get it wrong, as we saw in the practice racing yesterday, they had a terrible day. So really keep an eye on the Japanese boat in this pre-start, and let's see if they can get their time run perfect.
So it's 1 minute away from the third and final race of day number 1 of the Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, presented by KPMG. And everyone now looking for that sweet spot. Stevie, we saw the Americans get aggressive. Jimmy Spithill does not want to be shut out of the top spot tomorrow, especially on that last race. So does Spithill do what he did last time? Maybe a second and a half shorter, and then he won't get that early penalty.
Well, I don't know, but what I have seen is Nathan Outridge was definitely listening to Freddie Carr right then, because he's just led the fleet back, takes the charge. Now, Outridge controls the start here. I like where Phil Robertson and the Spanish boat is out the back. Japan leading the fleet back early. Spanish team have control of the bottom end of the line at the moment with 19 seconds to go. I think Outridge and... Oh, my... No! The British crew have crashed. They had no rights there, lost control of the boat. There's going to be disaster for the Japanese and the British there. That's unbelievable. You've got to be kidding me, says Nathan Outridge, and I can quite believe that. There goes the gun. Phil Robertson and the Spanish boat did have control. Brilliant start by the Spanish. Brilliant start by Tom Slingsby, and it's Peter Burling third off the line, but that is not the story of that start. A massive miscalculation from Ainsley, and there is no bow on the Japanese boat. Disaster for the Japanese team.
So for Japan, coming off a win in race number 2, they are now literally dead in the water, as is Great Britain. So instead of 8 boats racing for mark number 1, it is 6.
That could be a season-defining moment. That could be overall points lost for the British in the overall scheme of things that could potentially rule them out. Stevie, take us through the replay.
Come back on board here now. The British crew must keep clear, but look, they fly the boat too high, and they fly it right through the bow of the Japanese crew there. I think it's cut the bow off the Japanese boat. We're on board at the back of the Japanese boat. Look at the British boat leap out of the water, and look at that. Oh, my Lord, the forces involved there. Unbelievable. Watch the foil on the British boat, right-hand side of the screen. It's going to cut into the Japanese hull. Look at the load there. Arms up, unbelievable.
Stevie and Freddie, was this a case of Ben Ainslie paying too much attention to keeping Jimmy Spithill at bay, and they did not pay attention to what was in front of them?
I think it was just a basic mistake there, and well, the ramifications of that are going to run long. But as we come back to the race course here on this first downwind, someone that's going to look to take charge of that is Phil Robertson and the Spanish crew. As they set up here, look, they're leading the fleet today. Let's not forget how brilliantly this young Spanish crew are sailing. And this could be opportunity. There's 2 of the top 4 are out in this race. Will they be able to sail tomorrow? Who knows? Phil Robertson, perhaps it's not over for those out of this big 4 and getting to the final. And Tom Slingsby back in the game.
Well, just to keep an eye on the overall standings, Japan was tied for 2nd place with the USA with 44 points. Great Britain was sitting in 4th with 40 points. And guys, I don't know if Japan's going to be able to sail tomorrow as we focus our attention on this 3rd and final race. And it is Spain out in front with Australia, the defending champion, sitting in 2nd.
Great downwind leg and a great start to the leg from the Spanish crew there. Tom Slingsby turns up wind in the background. Out the back again, it's Burling. He missed that jibe. And here it's tight. Coming in at the bottom, the French crew diving inside the Danish. It's a tight for an overlap. The French have the rights on the inside as Denmark spin up round there. Great work by Quentin de la Pierre. And it's Peter Burling trying to get inside Jimmy Spithill. Wow, the big favourites in this event so far are struggling with the pressure out here on the water, because Jimmy Spithill back in 6th place at the moment. And here goes Spain, moving upwind.
So as this race continues on, race number 3, we are able to now be joined by Nathan Outeridge on board Team Japan. And Nathan, from your perspective, what did you see?
We saw Ben above us get completely out of control, and his whole hull landed on top of ours. I'm still shocked that no one got squashed there. As you can see, we've got no bow left. The boat is completely damaged. I can't imagine we'll be 80 tomorrow. It's just reckless sailing, unfortunately. It really ended our day.
Nathan, it's good to hear that everyone's okay, and that's in itself a miracle. But is this in a situation where you had nowhere to go? I mean, obviously you didn't see this coming. It's something that Ben wouldn't normally do.
Well, you know, we had full right away being the leeward boat there, and you know, we could see the boats all coming down at us, and clearly he either didn't see us or just didn't expected us to give way to him. But it's definitely ruined our boat and ruined any chance we've got of winning this event. So it's extremely disappointing. We put a lot of hard work, and bad first race today, really good second race, ready to capitalise on that, and now we're just hoping that this thing doesn't go to the bottom out here.
All right, Nathan, take good care of everyone. We'll talk to you later on. Thanks for your time.
Wow, you really could not write this, could you? As we come back to the water, talking not been able to write it, look at the boat speed on the Australian boat. Big lead change here, 100 metres ahead, as Phil Robertson in 2nd, dropping back. But this race, wow, it's tight in the fleet, but there's more drama far away from it.
Well, the other team involved in that initial incident at the start of race number 3 was Team Great Britain, Ben Ainslie. Wow, tight quarter racing, Ben. Everyone wants the same line. What happened out there?
Yeah, we just didn't see the other boat. We were focused on America a little bit early for the start at the top end of the line. And the first time I was aware of Japan was someone said, "Oh, you got the other boat," which no idea they were there. So that's certainly our mistake, and I certainly hope all the guys on the Japan boat are okay. And yeah, frustrating for both teams.
Ben, we just spoke with Nathan, and we'll just tell you right away, everyone's okay on the Japanese team. How about your squad? Is everyone okay? Anyone injured? And what's the state of your boat for possibly racing tomorrow?
Yeah, that's really good to hear. Yeah, no, all of our team are fine. I don't know about the...
Well, that's dramatic scenes out here on the water. And we see with 1 lap to go, it's Tom Slingsby. He's done a masterful upwind leg here. Look, he's jibing in that dark patch of water above the fans on Shark Island. Jason Waterhouse there, flying the boat through the manoeuvre. And, well, the Australians are moving away, but the consistency today is Spain. The Spanish crew still in second, sailing brilliantly.
Well, that new foot button that's gone on board the Australian boat must be a fast foot button, because it's turned their day around. I said in pre-start it was a big pressure race for them, because they were about 6, 7, 8 points off the top 3. Obviously, with the incident between Japan and Great Britain, it's spun the world on its head. And on top of that, Australia are leading this race.
Might have to have Lisa check in and make sure they didn't add a turbo, because this is a whole different race for Australia. Remember, they finished in 3rd place in race 1. They finished in 7th in race 2. If they can get a 1 or a first or second here, they are going to be in business. Meanwhile, the USA sitting in a good spot as well. Jimmy Spithill has them currently in 2nd place, fresh off that 3rd place performance in race number 2.
Yeah, fantastic work by the American crew. They found a bit of space through the middle of the pack. There was obviously a lot of wind shifts happening on that upwind leg when we were away, finding out that everyone was okay on the Japanese boat. But it was Tom Slingsby and this Australian crew that maximised those wind shifts, got their boat fastest, and look, as soon as he's out in front, this Australian crew just looks class, quality, eyes ahead for the Australians as they are just flying away at the front of the fleet. Phil Robertson dropping back at this moment in time on the Spanish crew. It's going to be interesting to see how they can keep this going. They need to get the momentum going forward, as we're going to be on the final upwind leg very shortly. Only about 4 minutes of this race left, so every move now is key.
Trimming up, just coming in a little low here.
Australia, USA, and Spain has dropped back to 3rd. Denmark in 4th. New Zealand and France, Great Britain, of course, and Japan out of this race. Freddie, I got to look to you, because you're always quick to have the abacus. This is huge for Australia, the leaders right now by 1 point, but you take out 2 of the top 4 teams, and there's a good chance they can't even sail tomorrow.
No, 100%, and this result for Australia, if they finish first, will move them from 6th overall up to 3rd, and only 3 points behind the USA and Spain, who would currently be on 13 points.
So through gate number 4, as we said, it's a 6-leg race right now as we go on board Jimmy Spithill and Sail GP USA.
Setting up for attack on the American boat there. That was Paul Campbell-James, the wing trimmer, sent down to leeward as he tacks the boat. He'll be now steering. But we hear Tom Slingsby there on the Australian boat saying the breeze is definitely better left. So to the left of the screen, they see more wind. They can't actually see the wind. They'll see a darker patch on the water, the effect the wind's having on the water. But they've got the time to read those conditions, and they're looking for more wind, as more wind means the boat's going to go faster. That's going to progress you up the course quicker.
These F50s are absolutely amazing. Look at the speed, 2nd place. Jimmy Spithill, over 50 kilometers an hour going upwind.
It really is quite amazing, Fred, isn't it, when you see these boats flying around the harbour here. But that's a big lead. Even at these speeds, it's Tom Slingsby and the Australian crews to lose, really, here. We see there a gust of wind, that dark patch about to hit the boat. Expect the boat to accelerate here. Little ease on the wing. Boat accelerates forward, and they're locked straight back into position, up to 50 kilometres an hour. So quickly. Should be just one more tack required for this Australian crew. And we're looking at how high the boat flies out the water. That's a fantastic camera angle. The higher they can get the boat out of the water, the faster the boat's going to go, and they're doing a really nice job in this race on board the Roo on Sydney Harbour.
Absolute class right now for Australia Sail GP, the defending champions from last year. Tom Slingsby in full control of this race as he took over on leg number 2 ahead of Spain, who have now dropped back to 3rd, with the Americans sitting in 2nd.
On board there, that's the voice of Paul Campbell-James on the American boat. He's just trying to make sure Jimmy Spithill keeps the boat fast enough. Look, they're all keeping as low as possible, trying to keep the windage down. One more tack to go. It's an improved performance for the American crew, but it's not going to be enough here. They're too far behind Australia. This final turning mark, and then that sprint to the finish under Shark Island.
They're turning down in 2, 1, coming down.
Pretty nicely done there, really, by the Australian crew. And, well, that was a textbook race. Well, it was a great recovery, Tom. Quite right. on the back foot after that last one, but as they come into the finish of race 3 here, just 11 minutes of racing, and it's a race win for Australia. Fantastic work for the crew there. Nice tonic to finish the day with. They'll be needing that. The home fans are going to be boosted by that, and a great bit of momentum to go into day 2 and the final day of racing at Sail Grand Prix here in Sydney. As we watch the Americans and the French, wow, you don't need the drama like that late on in the race there for Jimmy Spithill. That'll get the heart rate pulsing as they come in.
Great sailing, lads. Well done, rookie. Really well done, mate. Really impressive.
There you go, Jimmy Spithill and Paul Campbell-James on board there. The voices we heard on the American crew.
Congratulating rookie, who is Andrew Campbell, and he's their tactician on board, so they must have been really impressed with the way that Andrew Campbell got them around the racecourse.
Nice.
So, guys, you've got to be thinking stock up for the Americans with a 6th, then a 3rd, then a 2nd. The Australians do a great job of bouncing back. And there is Japan. We have now been told that they have been stabilized. So, to Nathan Outridge's point, they will not be sinking to the bottom of the Sydney Harbor. That boat has been stabilized by one of the shore crews, and so they will bring them in and immediately go to work. But some heavy damage there as Pete Burling and the Kiwis will come in 5th. The French look to be holding down 6th place.
Todd, they're about 3 or 4 miles from where the base is for these boats, and they're only going to be able to slide it sideways. We can see the speed of the Kiwis as they cross the finish line here. It's going to be a long evening to get that Japanese boat safely back ashore. New Zealand, well, they're not going to be happy. Peter Burling, he was hoping for great things here, and Quentin de la Pierre, well, it's a 6th place finish, but again, still room for improvement. It was an amazing day's racing, but the drama at the start of that, wow, what a story.
Nice epic, boys.
Well, boat of the day for me is pretty obvious to say is Phil Robertson. He's sailed really well. The pressure's been off Phil, but he's had a fantastic day. All of his results in the top 3, and the rumour going around the paddock is that he might have secured a seat for next year. I don't know who with, but that might be why he's buoyed and sailing so well.
3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Keep going. Come on.
Coming up, boys. Come on.
I love this shot.
Hello and welcome to Sydney Harbor for what promises to be an eventful 2nd day of the Australian Sail Grand Prix, Sydney, presented by KPMG. The crowds are out in force on this stunning waterway, and they're in for a treat with a weather forecast that promises strong winds and high adventure on the crowded stadium course. Hello everyone, I'm Todd Harris. Yesterday should have been pretty straightforward, but turned out to be anything but that, as Great Britain literally crashed out of the championship, taking Japan with them. Now, under the rules of the competition, Great Britain was in the wrong, and so they hand their boat over to Japan so that they can race today. And that keeps the race to the final wide open.
Look at the British boat leap out of the water, and look at that. Oh my Lord, the forces involved there, unbelievable.
We were just approaching the start line with a lot of people reaching down at us, and the next minute Ben just gets a huge leeway skid and just drops his whole leeward hull and just takes the bow off our boat. It's just unbelievable what's happened, and it's put us out of, probably not only today but tomorrow, because the boat's pretty much beyond repair and we're trying to make sure it doesn't sink now.
It's pretty gutting.
So on the back of the collision we had in the start of race 3, first was make sure everyone was okay, and then trying to get both boats back to the dock and assess the damage. Well, I guess it was pretty obvious. Sort of first sight of the Japanese boat with the starboard bow being cut off. It's going to be very hard for them to sail tomorrow, and that proved to be the case. We got the boats back to the dock. In that instance, if you're the boat that caused the collision, which we did, you can't race either. And given that we can't sail, really the right thing is to try and help the Japanese get out on the water tomorrow. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so Ben sent an email to me kindly offering, well, firstly apologising for the incident and, saying how nice, how amazing it was that no one was injured out of that. And he's kindly offered basically anything he can give us to get us on the water tomorrow, which is, it's really sportsmanlike of him to do that. He doesn't have to do that, but he said, look, we've put you out of today's race and we'd love to get you on the water tomorrow. We've come up with a plan where we're going to use Ben's platform tomorrow and our wing and sails. So we're just going through the process now of trying to assess what other damage is on Ben's boat. Hopefully it's all working fine and we'll make the start line. And ultimately for us, every event you want to race as much as you can. So, I'm really thankful that Ben has, helped us out with that.
And, we'll learn from it. Everyone will bounce back. Like I said, the most important thing, no one was hurt. We can repair the boats, come back out, get back into the next event in San Francisco and come back strong.
The other thing I'm looking out for today is with good results, Australia and the USA could put 1 foot in the grand final.
Well, it's great to be on board the Japanese. They're sailing the British boat, and Leo Takahashi, flight controller, it's his birthday out there on the water today, and we've got to hope for a birthday bullet for him. It's brilliant news. They're all safe, they're well, boat's in good condition, but you've got to imagine there's a few nerves on that boat after what happened at the end of racing for them yesterday.
And let's not forget, these boats are one design. These boats are one design. These boats are identical. So yes, he's in the British boat, but he should be used to everything around him.
Good look at the course right there with Shark Island on the right-hand side. So 70 seconds away from the start of race number 4. It's day number 2. 7 boats out on the water. Great Britain not participating. Their boat is out there, but it's been rebranded as Japan Sail GP as we now go under a minute.
So we're on the small wings, the 18-meter wings, and what we've seen on those wings is super high speeds at Mach 1. I expect the boats to go over 90 kilometers an hour as they arrive there. The other point to look at in this massive breeze is gate 2. It's very hard to round the boats up with these small wings. So 2 points to look out for: Mach 1 for the high speeds, gate 2 for a potential capsize.
Well, there we go. Just 30 seconds to go to the start. The whole fleet pushing for that bottom end of the line. This is Nathan Outteridge. We're on board Japan. That's the voice of Nathan Outteridge. And he's just trying to control the lead back. The Japanese boat with good control. Chris Draper, 8 to kill. That means you're 8 seconds too early at the moment. Still going slow at the moment. Here they come. New Zealand gapping off towards the left. They're going to be very fast at the gun. How's the timing for Peter Burling and Blair Tuke at this top end of the line? Outteridge and the Japanese turning down soon. 2-1. Watch for the lines. What a start by the Kiwi crew. 88 kilometers an hour. Unbelievable speed. Can they control their F50 though? The hull's too high. They're right on the edge. It's bucking its way down to Mach 1.
An amazing start for the Kiwis as they head towards mark number 1. Here in race number 4, 7 boats on the water, 7 legs of racing here in Sydney.
There we go. First, go boys. That's the voice of Peter Burling on the New Zealand boat, talking to the big grinders at the front there. That wing sail's got to come in after the bear away. Brilliant work from the New Zealand crew there, and we're going to set up for the jibe here.
New Zealand were 30 kilometers an hour faster than anyone else when the gun went. That was a really nice time run off the top of the line by Burling and his Kiwi crew.
So maneuvers coming early for both the Kiwis, the Americans, and now Japan. And guys, this course is just shrinking because of the speeds. Look at the speeds of the Kiwis, topping more than 70 kilometers an hour.
As fast as they come into gate 2, New Zealand trying to keep it simple with a left turn coming up. They will lead here on the first round up. Watch out for the boats. Can they control the wing? Lovely turn up. Look at the grinders there. That's Josh Jr. Louis Sinclair working hard on the handles at the front of the boat, and Jimmy Spithill, Quentin de la Pierre, they've misjudged their turn to the mark. Look how slow they are. Just 20 kilometers an hour for the French. The back of the fleet's bunching up here, and it's the Spanish in last place at the moment. That is not good for Phil Robertson and his Spanish crew.
And Spithill might have got away with one there. He misjudged his lay line, had to do a jibe and a long reach in to the mark, but the French boat also misjudged their lay line, and they acted as a safety car, slowing up the rest of the fleet.
So Spithill looks to be recovering nicely here, guys. Freddie, Steve, I can ask you, is there a favored side of the course today here for race number 4 early on day 2?
So I think it's similar to what we saw yesterday, Todd. The left has got more pressure as we look upwind, but the feature today is there is more choppy water, so harder to move and manoeuvre on that left-hand side. You can go into the lee of Shark Island, as New Zealand have done there, and do your manoeuvre in flatter water, but in less wind. That's the compromise.
Well, it's a windy race here, and we're watching on board the New Zealand boat here. That's the voice of Peter Burling you can hear. He's looking to sail to the boundary, 20 seconds away, so it's about getting the boat fast. I think there's plenty of wind all over the course for these crews today, and their outerage. Put the tack in. It looks like that new boat is going well for him, and Takahashi doing a nice job on the flight control on his birthday, of course, out here as we watch the Japanese boat now.
Interesting, isn't it? The two boats that are 1 and 2 at the moment, New Zealand and Japan, are two boats that need to have a good race 4 to step up with the leaderboard in Sydney to make the final.
Well, yeah, we look at the results at the moment, we see that the Spanish crew of Phil Robertson has moved up to 5th, but Tom Slingsby, well, he looked comfortable, but he's having a bad race. This could turn things on their head at the moment. It's very gusty. You see the texture on the water there, the darker patches, that's more wind. Find more wind and you're going to sail faster, but looks to me like there's plenty of wind, generally speaking, everywhere. And Outeridge and his Japanese crew have definitely closed the difference on Peter Burling, but as they turn away at gate 3, still in the lead is New Zealand and Peter Burling.
So gate 3 has the Kiwis out in front, Japan sitting in 2nd place, the Americans an early possible mistake, still in 3rd place, and it's France, Spain. Australia has moved up to 6 ahead of Denmark. The story of the day, guys, though, the start from the Kiwis as they've gone out there and the job that Nathan Outeridge and the Japanese are doing on the borrowed boat.
There we go, that's the voice of Nathan Outeridge talking about the board we see in the background. Peter Burling, but it's bearing away on board the American boat there. Jimmy Spithill. That's the voice of Paul Campbell-James. No lower. Don't turn any further away from the wind here. We've got the right angle. It's tight at the back of the pack, but the boats are very much racing the course rather than racing each other. Calm. Calm voices are key today on board the boats. Oh, it's a big splashdown for the Spanish there and Phil Robertson. A bit of a messy rounding, but you can see, look, we're on board. What a shot it is there. The water in the faces. Hard to see what's going on. It's a bit messy on board the Spanish boat today. Pressure back on them leading overnight.
So Phil Robertson and crew, who looked so good yesterday, not having their best race here. They currently sit in 5th place, and this from a team yesterday, race 1 got a 1st. In the 2nd race, they did quite well, finishing 2nd, and in the 3rd race, they finished in 3rd.
There we go, big round up here. Watch out for the New Zealand boat. Oh, it flew high there. Very difficult for Andy Maloney to keep the boat in the water. They've just kept the boat upright. That's the main thing. Time to set up.
Fair play to Josh Jr. there, the jib trimmer on board the Kiwi boat. He saw very early that they had a bit on with that round up, and you saw the jib, the front sail flapping. So he completely depowered that front sail to get the boat back underneath the wing. Nice work, Josh Jr.
And look how fast the Americans are now coming in here to gate number 4, with the French right behind them in 4th.
Go hard. That's Paul Campbell-James talking to the grinders. Go hard, go hard. And we can see there another messy rounding by the French. They're struggling around here. They're still upright, still ahead of Tom Slingsby back in 5th. Not managing to make an impression just yet. But the Australian crew does look smooth around the course, and he is normally the main man when the breeze is up.
Just picking his way through the field again, the Australians. We saw in our pre-race analysis they were making lovely gains on the upwinds yesterday, and they're doing the same again today.
It's the head-to-head with the speeds here. Look down in the bottom corner there. New Zealand constantly seem to be sailing the boat at a faster, aggressive angle today. They're sailing fast, longer distance, but keeping the speed high. And if Peter Burling can find the gusts of wind, that's going to do them well. That's Peter Burling, the voice there, setting up for attack. Josh Jr. on the handles in front of us there. Olympian from Tokyo as well. And let's watch him spin into the tack here.
That's the one, fellas. Pete Burling liked that one, didn't he?
I like that one as well, Freddie Carr. Up on the foils, the boat going fast in this breeze. Well, they need to make something happen. They're on that yellow line. The yellow line is the lay line. That means they're lined up to make the next gate. No more manoeuvres for them. The next big moment for the New Zealand crew will be the bear away. Time to hold on to your hats before this final downwind sprint to the last turning mark.
So leg 5 of 7 as they come up on gate number 5. It is still the Kiwis out in front. Japan has not been able to close that gap, which is holding right around 170 meters. The Americans sitting in third with a comfortable lead of 100 meters over France. Surprised to see Australia after yesterday's performance sitting back there in 5th.
And talking of yesterday's performance, the Kiwis had a very vanilla day yesterday, didn't they? Yachting around in the back half of the fleet. But if they can convert this first place with results currently where they are, they'd only be 3 points off making the final in Sydney.
That's an incredible turnaround. That nice jibe there. Here we are. We're on board the Japanese boat. What a comeback in a new boat this would be. Watch that board lock down. Outeridge watching it like a hawk. Board locks in place, starts the turn, and now we see Chris Draper, left side of the shot. He's steering the boat while Nathan crosses. It's real multitasking in this big breeze, and they're coming downwind here. It's fast. What was that, a mistake by Burling? I think he might be missing turning mark 6 here. This could be an unforced error from the Kiwi crew. Let's see what happens. No, same for Outeridge. He's gone round the mark. I think this could be an error here.
So leg 6 of 7, the Kiwis seem to be still trying to sort it out now. On the water, they bear away and realize the mistake.
Oh, I think there's a lot of confusion out here, Todd. They should have left that mark 6 to the left, as far as I understand. And at the moment, none of the crews seem too sure exactly what's happening. They're blasting off downwind. There's a lot of confusion, I've got to say. I believe they should have turned left and gone to the finish. We'll wait for confirmation on that. But as we see now, whatever happens, they're close. This is tight. Both boats on a knife edge. Oh, that's Burling there talking about the course being incorrect.
Okay, there was a bit of a glitch in the system there. The remaining course from where we are now in this battle is down to the bottom where they've gone round now, up to the windward mark, and then down to that Mark 1 mid course and a sprint to the finish. So just a little glitch out with our graphics.
Yeah, no worries. So it stays the same, no harm, no foul, as Japan got messy there trying to sort things out. It is still the Kiwis in first place. Japan sits in second, and the USA closed the gap a bit, sitting in third.
Well, there we go. I'm glad I wasn't the only one confused during that. Burling also confused with what's going on the screen, but they've calmed it down. We've all resettled. I'm settled down again. Here we go, Burling talking about further up the course. He's saying when we get to the gate at the top, we need to be better at our bear away to be able to make it to the final turning mark in 1. So that's where these guys are thinking. They're already thinking to the top of this next leg. We can see on the ladder lines there, the arrows show they're moving up the course, and there's some 100-meter advantage for Burling at the moment. But right-hand side of screen, here comes Tom Slingsby on a charge. Slingsby and Spithill have closed the distance, and it's all on this last upwind leg before they're going to turn and blast away from the wind one last time.
And it is the Kiwis starting to pull away their lead over 100 meters over Nathan Outeridge, and Japan as that speed once again approaches 57 kilometers an hour. So speed has been the friend of the Kiwis from the get-go. You guys saw them blast off the line, and here they are trying to close this one out and pick up a victory on race number 4, day 2 in Sydney.
See there the race top speed, Todd, 89 kilometers an hour. That's nearly 48 knots in old money. Unbelievable speeds here. And that yellow line, that's the indication of the ley line. They'll expect attack from the Kiwis when we get close to that. Here they go, New Zealand tack. They should be lined up for the test. Now, Peter Burling said to us at the bottom of the course, we need a better bear away if we're going to make it down there in 1. Let's watch this bear away. High speed, high drama, but they need to be more accurate than the last time round.
Just quietly, Australia is chipping away up the leaderboard. They were 7th early on in the race. They're now up to 3rd, and that really changes the things in the race to the final. It puts a bit of a breathing gap between them and New Zealand, and that is the battle. You can see there, Australia on 21, New Zealand on 17. So by Australia chipping away in this race, they're making their lives quite a bit easier in the race to the final.
The defending champions on home waters, the Aussies now, trying to make the move and get those valuable points as they get ready for race number 5, but it is the Kiwis out in front, Japan close behind, and the Americans have gone back in front of the Aussies into 3rd.
Here we go. Could be the final jibe here for the New Zealand crew. They turn into a jibe. Board locks. There goes Burling in the background. Josh Junior's flying the boat there, look. Alteridge follows, close jibe behind. How are they looking on the ley line for this final turning, Mark?
And Australia, and you can see Australia and America there coming in.
Here we go, tight manoeuvre. Burling needs to do 2 jibes. He has the rights to turn on the inside, but can Alteridge get through here? It's going to be close. Alteridge coming in a lot faster. 20 kilometres an hour of speed. Alteridge tries to slide around the outside. Who can re-accelerate quickest? New Zealand must keep clear. New Zealand, oh, there's going to be a protest there. There's going to be a protest on that one.
Penalty New Zealand relative Japan. Penalty New Zealand relative Japan.
And they are going to drag race it to the line. The Kiwis have the lead, but waiting for the penalty, and it comes on the Kiwis, which will handle race 4 to the Japanese.
It's a birthday win for Leo Takahashi, Todd Harris. What a finish that was. Jimmy Spittle in 3rd, Tom Slingsby submarines through the finish line in 4th. What a finish.
Wow. The big dogs in the prize fight in the end, and it's New Zealand leading from the start to almost the finish as they throw it away on the penalty. Here it is one more time.
Here you go. As soon as the Japanese boat comes around the outside in the overlap, Burling must turn to the left. He turns to the left too late. Alteridge had to keep clear, and that was the penalty right at that moment. Windward boat must keep clear, and it's Burling to the left, is closer to the wind, and he must keep clear.
France coming in 5th place. But what a race for the first 4. Spain will take 6th. A disappointing finish for a team that looked so good yesterday, and Denmark will round out the 7. Remember, Great Britain not participating as they have been disqualified. But what a race, and especially for Japan. You talk about being a wind whisperer for Nathan Alteridge. He steps onto a new boat and then picks up the win in race 4.
All-important 5th race where if the Spanish team come in the top 5, they will book their place in that top 3. And I am just wondering, I'm thinking of the season overall here. Phil Robinson doesn't want the Japanese to make the final. Could he potentially go and look to sail the Japanese away from the final in Sydney, therefore trying to give him more points away from them in the overalls? Is he thinking that bigger picture?
Certainly think I would be, and I know as we're on board with the Kiwis here, Blair Tuke, Peter Burling, match racers, they've won that race. They wanted to be very aggressive here and see if they could find a last-minute chance to get to the final.
So coming up on 90 seconds to go for the start of race number 5. The mission's simple. Be in the top 3 points overall after 5 races so you can race in the championship race, and it will be quite a field. Spain looks good, the USA looks good, and then Australia and Japan, guys, it's going to be a little dicey.
Yeah, so I think Japan have got to win this race. They won the last race. We know they can do it. They've got to win this race, and they've really got to hope that either the USA or Australia are in the back 2 boats, and that will leapfrog them into the final, which would be quite the story.
8 to kill.
Gotta say, I really did not see that being a situation with the Japanese. Incredible recovery. That's the 1 minute to go to the start. Here's the fleet, all a little bit bunched together. Burling to the left of screen again on the New Zealand boat. He's holding away. We can see those dark patches of water. They're big gusts of wind. You want to find those gusts once we're up and racing, but for now, it's going to make it hard to judge this time and distance.
Got 19 to
I'm looking at the breeze at Mark 1 here, Stevie. It looks light here in the start box, but there's a 41 km/h gust at Mark 1. There's going to be high speeds as they bear away.
Okay, 30 seconds to go there. A jump out of the water for the Japanese boat. The blue triangle, that's the favoured pole position on the start line. It's going to be tight here. France at the bottom end of the line look good, but at the moment I think Nathan Outridge is doing a good job of controlling. No gap this time for Burling, who's trying to come in from behind, and Tom Slingsby doing a nice job. That's the voice of Slingsby we can hear calling the time. Just 8 seconds to go. They're all very close to the line here. Who's going to get the boat up to speed the quickest? Watch for the line to go wide. It's all clear. Burling diving through late here. Can he find a gap? I'm not sure the New Zealand boat will. And once again, the pressure's on for Nathan Outridge and his Japanese crew, but they're in the box seat. They're going to turn down and watch them accelerate to Mark 1.
So at mark number 1, with a lot of points on the line, look at those speeds, dipping into 90 km/h, and it is Nathan Outridge in Japan that gets the whole shot.
We could call him the wind whisperer, but I think he's the postman today because he's delivering at Mark 1 in every race. Fantastic start under pressure. Brilliant work by the Japanese boat.
And right now, with the Japanese leading and the USA in last, we do have the Japanese jumping up to 2nd overall in Sydney and the USA dropping down to 4th. But things are going to change very quickly in the big breeze.
Watch them turn the jibe there, Freddie. There's gate 2, it's already on the screen. Have they got it up on the foils? New Zealand and
This is the
Denmark.
umpires, penalty on Denmark, relative New Zealand, not giving room in the boundary.
Denmark, foul on New Zealand.
Denmark must get back behind New Zealand. It's watching to the left of the screen. America coming in. They're all going to look to turn left here. Spain's ley line looks good. It's tight between America and Slingsby. Wow, diving out of the way is Australia. And the Australians and the Americans are slowing each other down as Burling goes round the outside. And look, the Australians, 20 km/h, and they're in the water. This could be disaster for Tom Slingsby at the moment, and Japanese stretch away.
And now it's Tom Slingsby that drops to 4th overall. USA jump up to 3rd, and Japan, where they are in 1st place, are 2nd. Wow, things are changing quickly. We need to see the USA and Australia do their upwind magic that we saw yesterday.
Right turn's what we want, eh?
Okay, so that's the Australian, that's Tom Slingsby they're talking about. He wants a right turn at the top of the course. They need to get going. Voice of Chris Draper on board Japan there, keeping things calm. Look at the race to the final here. It's so tight. I didn't really give the Japanese crew a chance before today, but backs to the wall. This team is doing a fantastic job here, and once again it's Japan and New Zealand in 1st and 2nd. The hometown favourite Tom Slingsby, well, he's my favourite in these breeze. He loves the big breeze, but right now he is not loving it, and he's going to need to make something happen in the next 10 minutes, or his place in the final is going to disappear from him.
Japan, Spain, New Zealand, the USA, the top 4 right now. Remember, they're all trying to earn enough points to go into the final race of the day, which will only be those 3 boats participating on course. And there is a lot of chaos out there, guys, right now. Look at the course. Where's the favorite spot, Stevie, Freddie? Where do you think they should be going?
See where the Japanese crew here are about to tack. There's more wind on this side of the course, and you can see the water's not looking as white. There's not patches of white water. The water's getting flatter, so you just want more wind, and I think more wind is on this left side where Nathan Outridge and his Japanese crew are. Look at the ride height there on the Japanese boat, constantly up above the water. There you can see they're not flying as high as yesterday because in this big wind, they need a little bit more margin for error, a little bit more safety. That's the voice of Chris Draper. He's talking here. They're talking about the setup for the bear away. Watch the boat accelerate, top of the mast, see the speed build here.
No problem, Steve. Lock it in here. Angle, no deeper.
Look at that, over 80.
Unbelievable speeds here. So calm on board, and it's tight here. Burling sneaks around on New Zealand in 2nd place, and it's Jimmy Spithill tries to dive inside the Spanish boat here. As they, it's going to be a penalty on Phil Robertson. Surely has to keep clear. He was a bit slow turning up. Look how slow they're getting. This could be the opportunity.
Penalty Spain.
And the penalty on Spain for not giving way to the USA, but has the damage been done because of the speed losses you saw in the background? Australia comes flying in.
There's a big story rumbling as well with Australia. Australia were in 7th and they're now up to 3rd. That takes them from 4th and that catapults them now up to 3rd. It is very, very dynamic in that 3rd spot.
Relative USA, windward boat not keeping clear.
And another penalty on Spain.
Well, there's a couple of match racing gurus there. First time we've really seen the Pitbull bite hard there, and he went hard after Phil Robertson.
Wow, we said before the race, Spain need to be top 5 to get into the final. Currently, they are 5th. Currently, they are 7th. Spain could drop to 4th, and they have dropped to 4th overall.
And meanwhile, Japan is running away with this race. They were sitting in 4th place. This is going to be huge for them if Nathan Outteridge on board that Sail GP GBR boat that has been rebranded can win this race. They will punch their ticket into the final.
Well, it's pretty much out of their hands now. It's about what can the Spanish do. But I've got to say, on his birthday, Leo Takahashi, what a job he's doing on flight control in this big breeze. They're stretching away. Look at that ladder line, 150 metres ahead. Just got to keep it calm on Japan.
Right, as it stands, USA 27, Australia 27, Spain 27, Japan 26. Hold on to your hats.
Well, that's right. It's all about the fine margins here. Japan can only stay ahead. Jimmy Spithill against Tom Slingsby. Can he get past Tom Slingsby and put him out of the final? It's tight at the back here. Look, Jimmy Spithill round the outside. He must give room to the Danish. He slides sideways, flies too high. Both boats fall off the foils and both boats are slow. It's dramatic stuff here as Nikolai Sejerstad on board the Danish boat. Will he be the fly in the ointment for Jimmy Spithill in this race?
Yes, yes, right now. He really, really could be. And by losing that place to Denmark momentarily, that dropped them out of the top 4.
Oh my word, everyone seems to want to have a bite of Jimmy Spithill, the pit bull, as it's Spain and Denmark first going at him. And Spithill saying, fellas, just let me run a clean race here. It's Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and the USA right now, 1 through 4.
We're only leg 5 of 9 as well. We're early on in this race. There's plenty of action left to do. If you're on board Japan, you've just got to sail the boat smoothly. No mistakes, 245 metres ahead. And that's why Nathan Outteridge can sound so calm. And what's going to happen at the back of the fleet? He needs a favour from either Denmark or France, relative Spain or USA, to get him in the final. It's tight, but it's out of Nathan Outteridge's hands now. He just needs to sail smooth and calm, cross his fingers and see if it's his lucky day.
Exactly, and Japan and New Zealand have got enough of a step away on the rest of the fleet that you could kind of lock those 2 positions in, but Denmark is the key boat here. Denmark could overtake Australia and New Zealand, Australia, and knock them out the final.
Interesting, the fly times, bottom left-hand side of the screen there. Look in this windy weather, these boats are on the edge. It's so hard to foil all the time. The number's only 50%, even for the best boat here. That's the voice of Nathan Outteridge, talking about the wind. Get it settled, then we'll jibe. Watch them trying to manoeuvre here.
So Japan doing a masterful job right now, handling what they can and then leaving the rest to fate. And the rest of the fleet is New Zealand sits at 2nd, Australia and the USA now up to 4th place. So Denmark doing what they have to do as they keep 1 position ahead of Spain, keeping the Spanish at bay and hoping for points. And just like that, Spain goes back into 5th.
So close at the bear away here. Watch the Australians turning away. The points in the bottom left-hand corner show there's just 1 point in it.
And the battle is, the pressure is on Spithill and the American boat. They have got to keep the Danish, the Spanish and the French behind them. That really is the battle to get into the final 3.
Spain must keep clear of Denmark here. He's going to try and dip behind, shoot for a right turn. Calm work by Phil Robertson there, nicely done. And it is really, really tight at this point in the race. Anything can happen. 1 mistake now could be so costly. blast downwind, and then we're going to have another tactical upwind leg where anything could happen.
So through gate number 5, you see Japan with the lead. They really can't do more than they've already done. The battle really is between Australia, USA, and Spain for those other positions into that final. But, man, Phil Robertson has been all over this course as you get a look at the leading boat, Japan, 22 seconds ahead of New Zealand.
Penalty Denmark, penalty Denmark.
Oh, that's not good news for the Japanese and Nathan Outteridge. That's somewhat tight, makes things a bit easier here. Unfortunately for the Japanese crew, good news for Australian, American and Spanish fans, though, as it puts them a little bit safer. Still a lap to go. Look at that, 93.4 kilometers an hour top speed. That's so close to 50 knots in old money. It's unbelievable, within 0.2 of a knot there. Burling on board the New Zealand boat, just setting up for attack, doing a great job.
So a score update: Spain 28, USA 27, Australia 27, Japan 26. So the battle here is about America keeping Spain behind them. If Spain overtake America, America drop out of the top 3. This is a big manoeuvre coming into Mark 6.
Eagle coming up. It's going to be 2 boards in for the United States here to try and get around the mark. No, they ditched the boat underwater. The gap tightens up. They decided to bail out of a technical manoeuvre there, and it's a slow turn for both boats. Who's going to get the boat up on the foils first? It's so tight. This final upwind leg of the race. Hardly any action left here. The Spanish need to make something happen as Paul Campbell-James, no rush, try and keep things calm.
The USA keeping the Spanish behind them here is massive, trying to get into the final in Sydney. It is massive in the overall grand scheme of things.
On board with Japan, out in front with a big lead. They're not a factor right now, though. Australia, New Zealand, the USA, and Spain, that's where the battle is to see who the top 3 will be to go into the final race of the day.
Interesting as well, looking ahead to this final, we see the wind speed out there, 31 kilometers an hour. It's gusty though. Look at the differences on the boats, up to 2-3 kilometers an hour of different. It's big gusts. We see the dark patches of water, they're the gusts, the lighter patches, lighter wind. And right now, Tom Slingsby is chasing down this New Zealand crew of Peter Burling and Blair Tuke, Andy Maloney. They've sailed really well today, but can he keep Slingsby behind him? Or is Slingsby finding his form in perfect timing before this 3-boat final here on Sydney Harbour?
Gate number 7, it is still Japan out in front, Australia 2nd, New Zealand 3rd. The USA is just barely holding off Spain in 5th.
Really tight final, little downwind dart here to the turning mark. It's going to be an early jibe for Japan. Tom Slingsby wants an early jibe as well. Good comms here there. There's Jimmy Spittle out on the far side of the course. Tax on the ley line. He needs to stay ahead of the Spanish boat. Look at the ladder lines. That shows he's 50 metres behind at the moment. And, sorry, 50 metres ahead. Can Phil Robertson and his Spanish crew find a way past? Does he want to find a way past, or does he want Japan off the podium race here? And look at these boats diving downwind. Tom Slingsby, what a job, as Japan approach the final Mark 8. A jibe here, a blast to the finish. Wow, the crews are having to work hard for this.
So it will be Japan on race number 5 with all kinds of drama that we never could have anticipated as they come through with a stellar performance, winning race number 4, and they will win race number 5 and then wait and see to what their fate will deliver them.
Oh, the USA have just gone round the last windward mark just ahead of Spain. That is absolutely crucial.
It's unbelievable.
So the Australians now, guys, have moved into 2nd place ahead of New Zealand. So it'll be Japan, Australia, and New Zealand going 1, 2, and 3.
That was nice work indeed, as they say, great comeback. There's the battle though. Can Jimmy Spittle fend off Phil Robertson on the Spanish boat? He looks good at the moment. That's quite a big gap to be ahead here. It's going to come down to the jibe, but if there's no mistakes from Jimmy Spittle and his USA team, they're going to book their place in the final. That's going to be heartbreak for the Japanese. What a performance today, but it might not be enough despite 2 wins in 2 races in their borrowed boat.
I will. Stand by. Yours. Come on, stand on. Go. Forward. 3. They're going to round up here. 2.
They take it wide, they take it deliberate. Spain coming in. Looks like they're going to run
Sorry
out of
to
real
interrupt
estate.
it, Todd. Look, the Danish are diving inside the Spanish.
Yes.
This could be a point change here as well. This is going to tighten things up. Here comes Sehested from nowhere, pushing the Spanish back, but I don't think it's enough still. He's going to be just not enough. The Spanish will make the final, but my word, what a move by Sehested from nowhere.
You
Out
are
of
right,
nowhere,
Stevie.
Stevie. Here comes Denmark.
You are right, Stevie. They lost that last place, but they just picked Japan into the final by 1 point.
Who said GCSE mathematics B grade wouldn't be important later in life?
And France will come in 7th to wrap up the racing through 5 races here at the Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, presented by KPMG. So, Freddie Carr, you've done the math, and there it is. Australia 28, USA 27, even with Spain. So it'll be the Aussies, the Americans, and Spain in the final. And, of course, we know all too well about the man they call the Pitbull, Jimmy Spithill, leading USA Sail GP team. 2 World Championships, of course, the 2 America's Cup, the most notable one coming in San Francisco when he came from behind to break the hearts of the Kiwis, and he is looking for a big win. This would be the first win of the season for the Americans if they could get it done. Tom Slingsby, look at that resume. The tail of the tape says it all. 10 World Championships, 2 America's Cup campaigns, picking up 1 and an Olympic gold medal. So Tom Slingsby looking to do what he was able to do last year and win on home waters to defend the waters here in Sydney Harbor. He's going to have a tough task because he's got the wily Phil Robertson, he's got the always dependable Jimmy Spithill, and now he's got a lot of pressure, guys, on his shoulders.
Well, let's look at the form, Todd. We've got the USA. This is their 5th final with no wins. We've got the Australians. This is their 3rd final, and they've won 2 of them. It's about form, and the form today isn't great. The Japanese are the form boat of the day. I think this one is wide open. Spain need to win to keep their season championship alive.
Expect a lot of aggression from Phil Robertson, but I love where the Australian boat is, pinning the other 2 out. Slingsby started to show his form on that Australian boat in the last race as he goes well. An aggressive turn down by the Spanish. Blocking move coming here. If it's going to be tight between Australia and the USA. Wow, how did the USA get through there? The pole position perfectly lined up for Tom Slingsby on board Australia. It's going to be tight. They all look a little early to me. They're killing speed. Watch them turn down. Their guns clear. Jimmy Spithill on board the USA. Perfection. But it's going to be Tom Slingsby at a faster angle that I think can get round him before Mark 1.
At mark number 1 in the final race of the day, it's winner take all. Slingsby going head-to-head with Spithill.
Wow, just in time for Tom Slingsby on board the Australian boat there. He was over 90 kilometres an hour along lap reach to Mark 1. Right on the edge, Jason Waterhouse, flight controller. Tom Slingsby in perfect harmony. And let's see if they can keep it smooth. The leader here gives them great control, and at the moment it's not enough for the Spanish team in 3rd.
Nina Curtis, take a bow. She was calling the overlap with the American boat coming in there. She said overlap, overlap, overlap broken, you can turn, and that is why the Australians turned with confidence and are leading this race. Nina Curtis, bravo.
Here we go. Nina Curtis with the Olympic silver medal, calling the shots, and now it is Australia. There you see it, gate number 2, Stevie, the USA, happy to follow.
He had to keep it tight. We're early in the race here, Todd. Don't give it away now. The Spanish, they're off the foils. Another mistake by the Spanish crew. They know the importance and they're showing the pressure as we're on board with the Australian boat. There's Kyle Langford. He's talking no slower, no slower. He wants to speed up at 60 kilometres an hour as the target, as we see the Spanish boat here rushing into attack. The boundaries come quickly. Need to settle things down on board that Spanish boat and try and start catching back up. They're nearly 200 metres behind as we see Australia and the USA tack right in front of the fans on Shark Island, and they're going to love seeing that Roo stretching away with Tom Slingsby and the crew moving out in front. That was the voice of Nina Curtis. Gains on both boats. Well, you'd love to hear that as the helmsman and driver on that boat. Voice.
We're going to go for 1 and in right.
Voice of Tom Slingsby. He's trying to set up the same maneuver as Jimmy Spithill. He's saying 1 and in right. I'm going to take one more tack and hope to turn right.
Final race of the day. This is for the title here in Sydney. The Australians out in front. Their lead just over 90 meters over the Americans. Spain, you see in the distance with a lot of work to do. But Tom Slingsby would love to get this win and would love to even more get it in front of the home crowd.
Go one tack. Here we go. Pressure's on that. Look at that. That's perfection, that tack there. Do they stay dry? They do. Remember, we're one event away from the final, the $1 million race. There's $2.1 million on the line this season. The pressure's on these sailors, but they want to win. Tom Slingsby desperately wants to win to avenge what happened to him in the final here in 2020. And right now, what a job they're doing. Jimmy Spithill is not going away on board the US boat, though.
Gate number 3, it will be the Australians with the lead. Here comes Spithill. They'll see each other as they pass, going on to leg number 4 of this final race.
That's the voice of Paul Campbell-James calling a big gust. They're constantly watching the water. Watch them here. Look how high the boat jumps. That's too high. Can they catch it? Whoa, great job by Rome Kirby. I thought he'd pushed it too high. Paul Campbell-James talking to those big grinders. Give me power, get that wing in. And we can see a split on the course here. Going 77 kilometers an hour is Jimmy Spithill on board the US boat. And now up to speed on the far side, Tom Slingsby. The ladder lines there, they're heading down the course. Some 200 meters ahead for Tom Slingsby. Tom Slingsby's calling it even, but it looks like a small gain to me. Over 200 meters, I think that's a gain, Tom.
Freddie and Stevie, I've got to ask you a quick question as we are on leg number 4 of 9. If you're Jimmy Spithill, is it too early to start taking chances? Is it too early to maybe take some risks that you wouldn't normally do?
It's hard, and this is the fascinating thing about the 3-way match race. They're obviously trying to win, but the Spain are right on the heels of the USA. You've got to go and attack, but do you defend the Spanish? You've got to think of your overall season points as well.
I think the interesting thing as well, Todd, is you need the other boat to make a mistake often. And at the moment, it's fairly flawless from Tom Slingsby and his crew. And if you just do something for the sake of doing it, it's unlikely to work. There's a saying in sailing, the good guys go where the good guys go. And if they're doing everything right in front, you can't just force it. You've got to keep yourself consistent. Look in the bottom left-hand corner there, Australia, 98%. It just shows they're not making mistakes. They're pretty much perfect in this race, as is Jimmy Spithill, but it's just not perfect enough. In the background, it's a bit scrappy on board the Spanish. The young Spanish crew, they know they need to push, but it's perhaps a bit late.
You hear the colorful big build, and that's exactly what the Americans need right now. They are starting to run out of time. Here we go. There you see the distance of the leaders, over 200 meters to the Aussies.
That's the voice of Paul Campbell-James saying a big lefty coming, so he's expecting the wind to turn to the left. Not good news for Tom Slingsby at the moment. They're a little bit slow getting the old board up there. That was not their best tack on board Australia. Little reminders, a lot of laps going on. Pretty hard to keep count here. That's Kyle Langford. Another lap to go. They're all pretty calm on board this Australian boat.
And the Aussies, guys, let's remember, they have not been flawless at this event. They started things off in a pretty good position, finishing 3rd on race number 1, and then they dropped to 7th before coming back to win the 3rd race yesterday, the final race. Today, though, 4th place and then a 2nd to get themselves into this final. While we have a moment, let's check in down on the shore with Lisa Darmanin.
Things have lightened off across the racecourse here as the clouds come over, and I think Tom Slingsby's really figured out where to go on this racetrack.
And it shows right now as Tom Slingsby makes the rounding at gate number 5. So now they're on to leg 6 of 9 here in the final race. The Spanish have fallen off. The Americans are trying to track down Slingsby, but they're just not getting many gains. It was 200, it went down to 190, and it's now back to 205 meters to the leader.
That's Tom Slingsby there. He's got them in a beautiful gust of wind. You can see that dark patch. Jimmy Spithill on board the US boat trying to chase them down, but they followed. They've gone the same way. If there was going to be a time to split, it was probably then. Now it's getting late in the race. Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew are perfectly lined up there, and I think they're just working well. As Lisa said, they seem to know where to go, and they're always in wind. They're always going fast.
Stevie, let's talk about the evolution of this race course from race number 4 when we saw the white caps to what we're seeing now, and from Lisa's report down on the water, how things have smoothed out so much and a little bit of a shift where the wind's coming from.
Absolutely. I think you can see with the fans on the shoreline here, the hair was getting blown around. It looked chaotic on Shark Island, and now the wind has dropped. It's slightly less white water, which means the water's a bit flatter. You're now seeing these F-50s flying a little higher. They look steady, and you see the white lines on that main foil show that Jason Waterhouse is happy to fly the boat a lot higher. Smoother water makes the boats a lot easier to sail, Todd.
Gate number 6, it is still the Australians trying to push the pace. They take a little bit of dip there, but no harm, no foul. And the Aussies are off and running yet again.
So I'm back on my spreadsheet for the overall season points, and as things stand with Australia and the USA coming 1 and 2 in Sydney, not only would they have a great result here in Sydney, they would book their places already in the grand final in San Francisco. So this is a massive result for both Slingsby and Spithill as things stand.
On board the US boat here, nice tack. They've got to get the boat up and foiling again. Wing needs to come in. It's going to be a big grind here. Big grind needed here. Here we go. Trying to get the boat going, trying to chase down this Australian crew. Keep laughing about the fact Jimmy Spitthill's not won one of these finals yet.
Yeah.
Tom Slingsby knows how to win. He's doing it again here. Is Jimmy Spithill just saving it for the grand final?
Well, he wants to win the next one if he's going to win one all season, let's be honest. That is where the money is, and that is where the prestige of being crowned the world's best sailor is.
And Stephen, to your point, the Americans have got 2 seconds, they've got a third, so they've been in the final race multiple times. They just have not been able to bring it home. Jimmy Spithill kind of hanging his hat on the fact that they're consistent. They're consistently at the top of the board. And to Freddie's point, if they've got the points and they've done enough, wow, that would be a huge relief to already be in to the big show.
Well, absolutely. He's known as the Pitbull. But he's really not been winning these boxing matches. Both him and Tom Slingsby love to train in the boxing ring. They love fighting. They're competitive beasts. But at the moment, the guy winning the fight more often than not is Tom Slingsby when the pressure really comes on. And Jimmy Spithill will not like that. But at some stage, you've got to think the muzzle's going to come off the Pitbull. And maybe that is in San Francisco.
Tell you what, that foiling tack by
great success there.
That foiling tack by the Australians is absolute money, isn't it? Absolute money. And you heard it in his interview at the top of the show. Tom Slingsby, when he saw the forecast, was super confident, and you can see why with manoeuvres like that.
2 legs to go through gate number 7. The Australians maintain their lead. It's actually growing as the Americans just cannot find the pace to keep up with the Aussies. The defending champions from last season looking very good. And as Freddie pointed out, it looks like the Americans and the Australians will meet again for the big showdown in San Francisco coming up in March.
That's a boat sailing full of confidence. Perfect jibe. And they're just faster. You said it, the others can't find the pace. The boat is just going through the water faster, they're flying it higher, they're steadier as a platform, and you hear that communication on board. It's so good.
Stand up, Australia. Look at that on Shark Island. There's some very, very happy Australians there, cheering their boys and girls home for what will be a huge victory in home waters.
Around mark number 8, it is Australia. Remember, the Aussies won at Great Britain at Plymouth. They won in Denmark. They won in Cadiz. And here comes Tom Slingsby and the Flying Roos. They will win in Sydney.
That's a good one for the crowd there. What a moment, what a race there. Brilliant. From the start, nailed the start. Nina Curtis, overlap broken. How crucial was that?
Call of the race. Call of the race by Nina Curtis. Overlap broken, and that gave Tom Slingsby the confidence to turn down onto the racecourse and roll over the top of the USA. Massive call by Nina Curtis, hanging out the back of the F50, doing 90 kilometers an hour.
You can see that being a dance move on Shark Island. Overlap broken. There's got to be a move to be seen out there as Jimmy Spithill comes through in second place. Great work by Jimmy Spithill, ever consistent. Next final you need to win, Jimmy.
And to your point, guys, if he's going to win one race, you might as well win the big one in San Francisco coming up March 26th and 27th. And that's when the big dollar is on the line as Spain continues to try to find their way to the finish line. You know, SailGP's female pathway program